Running version 2 has been released, and I have a couple of things to test out with this AI. So anyway, I've got a few trains that are set up here. One's the one that you were looking at for a little while. Basically, I want to see what happens if we let an AI drive a train that's not really set up properly. So I'll show you what I've got. This is one of the trains here. This has, I think it's 10 SD70s on the front of it. But anyway, there's no distributed power on this. All the power is in the front. And if you were to actually try to take this up a grade, you would end up snapping a coupler, most likely. While you didn't end up snapping a coupler or stalling out. When I let the AI drive it, I'm not entirely sure if it's going to stall out, if it's going to snap a coupler, or if it'll just drive up like normal and pretend that nothing's going on. So we may as well just let it go. Unfortunately, when I click on those menus, you can't actually see what pops up. It doesn't look like. But anyway, I think these guys already cleared out. Yeah, there we go. So they should actually start moving as soon as everything's running. This train is set up, it shouldn't really be able to break a coupler, but what this is going to do is stall out. So go ahead and select this. I think it's only got like, considering it's fully loaded, I think it's like 1.2 horsepower per ton or something kind of low. Go ahead and let the AI take over again and see what happens. I will say it looks like that one's struggling a bit more to get started. Alright, so that's just a whole bunch of BN ballast hoppers. So we're going to come back over to Cliff and clear the signal gap down. Now, it looks like this train's actually doing pretty good so far. They're doing 28 over here, but Anyway, we're gonna go ahead and go over here and set this train up. Now, this train would run up this grade, but the thing is, if you leave your settings in hogger mode so that you can break couplers pretty easily, you can't get this thing to move unless you set up a DPU fence. So anyway, I've already tested this a couple times and it actually does, it is pretty hard to get moving. So we're gonna go ahead and let the AI do it and see what happens now. Again, this is kind of a heavy train and the horsepower per ton's a little bit low, but it should be able to take off here in theory. Sounds like they have all the same horns on these now, doesn't it? Looks like they're going to take off just fine. Now, one thing I'd like to show here on this, though, and I noticed this earlier when I was messing around with the AIs. If I get in the cab here, maybe we can try to. Take a look over here, you'll notice that this tractive effort meter, I suppose it is, sits at 0. So I do kind of imagine that this thing completely ignores like coupler breakage. So anyway, that's kind of my theory on it. We'll see what that other train does, though. Right now it's actually just sitting in notch 5, slowly gaining speed. Now, if these guys are in notch 8 right now, we can pretty much, yeah, notch 8 at 22 miles an hour. I think the couplers would have been broken by now. So it does indeed look like the coupler breakage is pretty much ignored on the AI trains. So, and actually, let's go ahead and stop this guy. Stop, you can say hold position. Drop the signal. And they should come to a stop here. And I've got it set to relinquish as soon as it stops. So I'm going to go ahead and take control over this train and see if I can get it to move at that kind of speed in notch 8 without snapping a coupler. So anyhow, it just should come to a nice gentle stop. Looks like it's going to. Shortly after the train stops here, those two names should go away. Yep, there we go. And then I can take control over it. We should have a decent bit of a grade to start out on, so this might be kind of interesting. We'll just see if we roll backward here with the brakes released. The only thing holding us is the independent right now. Looks like we should be okay. I'll get the coupler strain up here. Looks like it's already about to break. We may have to start this thing out in like notch 1. Got the EOT move light on. I'm not real sure why. Now look at that. Notch 1 and it broke the coupler. That was That didn't take much at all. Not sure where it broke the coupler at, actually. Right here. Oh yeah, and this is another interesting thing since it happened that I can show. When you break a coupler now in Run 8, in the version 2 of Run 8, it actually does break the coupler. So, see, we were missing a piece there until I clicked on that Fix Broken Coupler button. I think this one was okay, yeah. Actually, I've got 3 broken coupler errors. That might be... break the coupler now. I just randomly broke the coupler. Did it snap off of this? Jeez. And I want to be right where it was. And we'll just do this. Alright, so I'm going to try one last time to get this thing to move. EOT is already moving, but we want it to move the other way. So anyway, we're going to try one more time to get this thing to move without having major issues with the couplers here. And it looks like, I mean, it actually looks like the couplers are being like springs and bouncing back and forth right now because the EOT move light is just going on and off. So that's kind of interesting. Problem with this is you really don't have any control over how hard you pull on it because you have 10 engines in the front, and even in notch 1, it's quite the pulling force. So it looks like we've settled in here. I'm not real sure though. Go ahead and ease this back into notch 1 and see. See if it'll move. Actually, you know what? We haven't loaded this train yet. That's going to make a big difference. Set this to full. That will most certainly make all the difference in the world when it comes to this. I'm going to go ahead and let yep. See that? Nothing. Sitting here with the independent brakes applied and it broke a coupler. Maybe I should put the parking brake on before I load a train. I don't know. I just don't think that this is... Looks like we only broke 1 coupler. So we'll go back into this. At this point, it's pretty easy just to put the train back on the track. Okay. Do all this stuff again and then load it. Let's just see, we're going to let off the parking brake and see if it holds this one spot. EOT move lights on. I'm going to let that settle. See that? It broke a coupler just sitting here. This train is not set up right at all. So that's kind of interesting. Try one more thing. We'll actually put the brakes on before I take off the parking brake and see what happens. This is why we use DPUs though. That looks good. Oops, I don't want another one of those. Let me go ahead and brake a little bit before I take this off. We'll wait for the rear to actually come down too. Anyhow, rear pressure is down a little bit. I should be able to take this off without really having to worry about it. And apparently the way that this comes, like the way that these trains are put on here with that train maker upper thing, I think the way that is that like the couplers aren't stretched out and it's actually breaking the couplers just from the force of it getting pulled back. So we're gonna actually try to stretch them out actually moving forward. We're going to break the coupler. Came up to 400,000 pounds there. Brakes are actually still on. Don't snap again, okay. Alright, we're going to try this one more time. Throttle notch 1. Here we go. I don't know what that was. I think these rail drivers are kind of jittery. Moving forward. Okay, we're moving forward. CO2 moves on. Got 160,000 pounds on the coupler. We might be able to move it to notch 2. It may just spool right up past. Oh, that's just barely it. There's almost no margin for error on this too. We're gonna let the brakes off. See what it does. And this is why you don't set up 10 SD70 Aces or any locomotive in the front of a train. So we're pulling at 390,000 pounds on the coupler. I think they brake at about 400,000. And we're sitting here. I suppose we're waiting on air. And we're not going anywhere. So that's slightly anticlimactic. We haven't snapped the coupler yet either, though. That train won't move, so we're going to put it back on the track. And do this again, fully load the train, and then AI recrew, and see if it moves. Because if it does move, that means that it completely ignores the coupler breakage. So this will be interesting. And while we wait for that to try to move, oh, actually, in theory, it shouldn't move. It should snap a bunch of couplers. It's gonna move anyway, isn't it? So that's interesting. The AIs do ignore broken couplers completely. The train that I thought would stall is still moving. It's only doing like 4. Oh wait, no, sorry. This one, it's doing 21. No problem there. I might just modify this train and get it to stall. But anyway, this thing is pulling into loop, which is kind of a cool sight. But this will be the test to see what happens if you stall a train with the AI, or if an AI stalls a train. So, I don't know, I've only got one engine and it's quite a bit of weight. It's like 0.2 horsepower per ton. Should be kind of interesting. Probably shouldn't move at all, honestly. And if it does, I'm going to take control over it and see. It is going to move. Barely, but it's going to move. So if the train was 0.2 horsepower per ton, the thing actually does move. It's kind of interesting. And like I pointed out earlier, this tractive effort meter, when it's underpowered, doesn't do anything. Oddly enough, when it's in dynamic braking, it actually will show a number. But so far, the AI system I'm actually pretty impressed with. They've got coupler breakage taken care of, so you know the AI systems doesn't have to worry about breaking a coupler. It looks like they pretty much got stalling taken care of, because if a train can move with 0.2 horsepower per ton, which I'm pretty sure it should tell me, yeah, 0.2 horsepower per ton, then they've pretty much got this taken care of. So we're gonna do the same thing I had to do before and put the brakes on just to keep it from snapping a coupler when I let everything off. But anyhow, actually the coupler should be stretched out already. And the other thing I was interested in is traction motor temperatures are not up right now, so pretty much just gonna have to give this thing full throttle. Of course, it's not gonna snap the coupler because it's only one engine, but it goes off and then the train break off, and it will hopefully move forward. Wheel slip lights coming on there, put sand down. Not quite as easy as that AI thing though, is it? Full throttle. Doesn't move at all, actually. 190,000 pounds of tractive effort, which of course, actually our coupler strain is less than that, oddly enough. You see the traction motor temps just tick up. But yeah, it's interesting. It looks like they've pretty much gotten everything taken care of in terms of the AI. The trains won't stall. They won't snap a coupler. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. The AI was able to get this to move, and of course I'm not. So, all right. So one more test here, since someone commented on my live stream. What happens if you were to drop a signal right as the train got to it with the AI driving it? So I'm going to go ahead and set this up for AI at first. These are the SD45s, and these are actually gondola cars that have spawned in as box cars, presumably because I don't have the gondolas purchased. So entire Run 8 and Western train. Alright, so we're coming up on the signal here. I'm going to get ready to chop it here shortly. I think this is probably close enough. We're right here. Signal's red. Let's see what happens. Signal, that's what it did. Though it did stop really fast. Alright, here we go again. Alright, so in conclusion of this, the Run 8 AI system is actually pretty foolproof. As you saw in this video, if you try to get it to break a coupler with a poorly set up train, it won't break a coupler. It just doesn't seem to have the ability to in the AI. If you try to run a train that is extremely underpowered, it still rolls at the very least, even if it is quite slow. And if you drop a signal in front of a train, it will come to a stop, even if it is a really fast, unrealistic stop. So it seems like they've worked out all the possible scenarios that I at least that I could think of, and one commenter on that last video. If you have any other tests, feel free to leave them in the comments. We can make a part 2 to this video. No problem doing that. But anyway, that's about it for now, guys. Bye.